What's happening?
I can fly!
It really looks like we might be seeing a third Shazam movie in James Gunn's DC universe, and that's honestly exciting, because the character still has so much untapped potential. There's been a lot of speculation around whether Billy Batson's story would continue or if the new DCU would quietly move on, but recent interviews and hints suggest that Shazam's lightning hasn't burned out just yet. So, let's dive into everything we know so far, what the director and cast have said, and how Shazam 3 could fit perfectly into the new DCU plans. Zachary Levi, who's brought so much humor and heart to the character, recently spoke with Variety and made it clear that he's totally open to returning as Shazam in James Gunn's new universe. When asked if he'd play the role again, Levi didn't hesitate. "Absolutely, I loved playing the role," he said. He did admit that the ultimate decision isn't his to make, since it's all well above my pay grade, but the enthusiasm in his response says a lot. He still loves the character, and that passion could play a big role in whether Gunn and DC Studios bring him back. Now, even though the previous DC Extended Universe didn't confirm a Shazam 3 or any follow-up for Levi, that doesn't mean it's off the table. It actually opens up a bunch of interesting possibilities for how Shazam could reappear. Because the DCU reboot is meant to start fresh, this might be the perfect time to reintroduce the character in a new way, one that fits Gunn's tone of balancing heart, humor, and mythology. Some people assume Shazam won't get another solo film because his box office numbers weren't huge. But it's important to remember that popularity can change quickly once a character gets the right creative direction and a good story. Look at what happened with Peacemaker. Hardly anyone outside hardcore DC fans knew him before the Suicide Squad, and now he's one of the DCU's most beloved figures. So, if Gunn could do that with Peacemaker, there's every reason to believe he could do the same for Shazam. And if we think about how Shazam might return, it doesn't necessarily have to be through a big-budget solo film right away. He could easily pop up in another DCU project, maybe something like a Justice League or Justice Society team-up. That would give audiences a chance to reconnect with the character without the pressure of carrying an entire movie by himself. It would also make sense creatively, because in the comics, Shazam's been part of both those teams at different times. The best part is that James Gunn seems to love giving his characters meaningful roles in interconnected stories. Even if Shazam doesn't headline a solo movie immediately, there's a strong chance he'll appear in another project that builds towards something bigger, like Shazam 3. Another exciting direction the DCU could take is exploring Shazam's story through animation. Gunn and his team have already shown how committed they are to blending live action and animation in creative ways. For instance, they're launching Creature Commandos as an animated series that ties directly into the live-action universe, and the upcoming Blue Beetle animated series will continue Jamie Reyes' story from the 2023 film. So if any character fits that format, it's definitely Shazam. Animation would actually allow the filmmakers to fully embrace the wild, imaginative energy of Shazam's world. Think about it. Flying monsters, ancient gods, magical realms, and wacky villains like Mr. Mind and Dr. Sivana. Animation can bring all those things to life without the limits of live-action budgets. And if Gunn decides to continue Shazam's story that way, Shazam 3 could be something truly special, a vibrant, action-packed animated adventure that still connects to the DCU's larger storyline. And let's not forget that Shazam Fury of the Gods actually set up some pretty big story threads that were clearly meant to lead into a third movie. In the post-credit scenes, we saw Shazam being approached to join the Justice Society. That meant he could have teamed up with heroes like Hawkman, Cyclone, and Atom Smasher, basically a whole new lineup that could have made for a fun crossover. Then, in another post-credit scene, we got a glimpse of Dr. Sivana still in prison, this time chatting with the bizarre but brilliant worm villain, Mr. Mind. That teased a major villain team-up, something fans have been waiting for since the first movie. If Shazam 3 actually happens, those storylines could finally pay off, and there's no reason they couldn't fit into the DCU. Gunn's DC universe is already being described as a mix of mythological themes and grounded heroism, which perfectly matches Shazam's tone. Now, we know the first chapter of Gunn's DCU is titled Gods and Monsters, but we still don't fully understand what the gods part means in terms of story. That's where Shazam could come in. His powers literally come from ancient gods: Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. That makes him one of the most fitting characters for this new era. It's worth noting that Fury of the Gods already touched on similar ideas. Remember how Wonder Woman showed up near the end and talked about humans and gods living in harmony? That little moment might have been more important than people realized. It could easily be used as a springboard for Shazam 3 in the DCU. Imagine a story where Shazam and Wonder Woman team up to face new divine threats, maybe Hades or another god trying to seize control. That would connect beautifully to the gods and monsters theme, while also uniting two powerful heroes whose abilities come from mythic origins. So while Fury of the Gods might have seemed like an endpoint, it could actually be a perfect stepping stone for what comes next. Shazam 3 could bridge the gap between the old DCEU and Gunn's DCU, giving fans a familiar face in a fresh setting. And if Gunn wants to go even bigger, there's a great comic storyline that could inspire Shazam 3, The Multiversity, Thunderworld Adventures. It's a standalone story by Grant Morrison that featured a Golden Age-style Captain Marvel, the original Shazam, taking on a supercharged version of Dr. Sivana. It's filled with gigantic monsters, robot armies, and over-the-top villains, exactly the kind of stuff that would thrive under Gunn's creative direction. That story also ties into the Multiversity event, where different versions of the Justice League from alternate Earths came together under the leadership of Calvin Ellis, a Superman variant who's also President of the United States. With the DCU leaning more toward a multiverse concept, this could be the perfect time to bring in that kind of comic book insanity. Shazam would fit right in, battling larger-than-life threats across worlds. The Thunderworld Adventures comic was actually praised for how fun and colorful it was, especially during a time when most superhero stories were dark and gritty. It reminded fans that superheroes could still be optimistic and lighthearted without feeling childish. That's exactly what the DCU could use right now, a movie that embraces the joy and wonder of being a hero. So if Shazam 3 were to adapt even parts of that story, it could be one of the most visually spectacular and emotionally uplifting movies in the new DCU lineup. It would give Levi's Shazam a chance to shine again, and it would also show that Gunn's DC universe isn't afraid to have fun with its mythology. And even if Levi doesn't return, there's still room for a new actor to carry the mantle forward. The Shazam mythology is flexible enough to introduce a younger or alternate version of the hero, especially if the multiverse comes into play. In the end, all the signs are there. Levi's open to returning, Gunn's DCU is embracing magic, gods, and multiverse concepts, and the previous Shazam movies left plenty of story potential to build on. Whether it's a live-action sequel, an animated follow-up, or even a crossover event, the chances of seeing Shazam again are higher than ever. And that's that for today's video. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.